So, Father Bob,
Yes.
what are you doing there tonight?
I don't know what I'm doing it. I said to myself all the way up to the thing. I said, what do they want you up there? I think you probably, who hired me? Platinum speakers.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think they probably thought it was Eddie McGuire.
Yeah.
I reckon. Now, I haven't said anything about it because I like to come up.
We are expecting then you going in the arse.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, I don't know, really. I may have overestimated this being anybody with, what? I like going where you can mix with people who can think. Now, allegedly...
Well, the group of 8 are meeting just down the road. Down the road.
See, allegedly you're lot... And I say to myself, look, if we can get a room full of thinkers, well, then there's a chance that we might be able to prevent the collapse of the Australian community. Because we're suffering, I believe, and I'm only a researcher, a bout of community collapse disorder. A vaccine to the virus needs to be found, and I think that the vaccine will have to start with people who can think, not people only who can feel. See, my mob can feel. I felt sorry for them, I feel. It's not good enough. You've got to think and feel. And put them together, you've got a vaccine to the virus. Because most human beings, I believe, you see, are able to think their way through. We meet extraordinary people. We haven't got the time. We haven't got the time, even on the streets, to interview people and ask them what their backstory is. Because you know what the Aussies are like. The Aussies are not keen on giving the backstory. Pollies are starting to do it because they want you to feel as though they're human. So they say, once upon a time in a land far away, I was an orphan. See what I mean? Good. Now we feel for you. Once upon a time in a land far away, my father used to lock us up in a cupboard. There were 23 of us. He had a hook, one hook, and every night time he would come in and hang one of us on the hook. And as soon as that one fell asleep, put that one in bed. And then hang everyone up one by one until we were all asleep. And that's the backstory for that. Now that's Monty Python, isn't it? But then so many stories of each person around here tonight would be staggering. The stories that you would get out of people sitting around here tonight. And yet if we don't know the backstory, we need an explanation. And I look for the explanation on the street. You see, because I believe now, it's taken me 40 years admittedly, that people on the street are not misfits, they're mystics. Huh? Mystics. Where other people see dead people, I see live people. See? Isn't that the film? When the kid says, I see dead people, and people say, oh, Jesus, that's exciting. No, it's more exciting when other people are declared to be dead, declare some of our lot to be dead, and yet I can see that they're alive. So that's what we're trying to do, you see, and that's what you're trying to do, your network of universities, which is so important, which is why I'm here tonight. Because if we can get you on side, you see, I think we've got a chance of getting over the community collapse disorder quicker. It's otherwise going to take what? What do you reckon? 2 generations, you see? We dropped the ball in the I went to South Melbourne in the 70s. By the time the 80s had arrived, we had lost 40 20-year-olds to drugs because we didn't have the resources to tackle the drug dealer. So now we're going to lose how many to ICE? Because we're investing in the fight against ISIS. Bugger ISIS. Let's tackle ICE. Because we're going to have more casualties due to ICE than we're going to have due to ISIS. You see? So I told him before, and I said, listen, while I'm here tonight, I'm looking for what do you call a strategic alliance. with people who can be both ruthlessly rational and assertively compassionate. Both. There's a lot of workers with charitable causes are, assertively compassionate, but unfortunately they're not ruthlessly rational. And I think the Aussies are not in the mood. If you're going to get the Aussies on side as bleeding hearts, you're going to have to appeal to their minds as well as their hearts, and it should be becoming obvious that it's rational to help the poor. The Latin Americans have a saying for it, and they know it's fair dinkum because they kill one another every other day in the struggle between the rich and the poor. And they had a saying that if you can't help your poor, you won't be able to defend your rich. Now that's rational. See what I mean? It's not nice to think that that's the what did I say before? The algorithm that we need. An algorithm that can drive an Australian, unique Australian, hybrid, inspired by indigenous spirituality, movement, not organisation, movement, which I think the Aussies could be lured into the position where they accept that that's the real meaning of things like ANZAC. Don't leave me behind, Cobber. So the Aussies have got the taste for it, but you see, there's this mob that I was saying to you, that I'm now calling them social behaviour regulators. Somebody out there is regulating and saying, convincing the ordinary Aussie that it's not in their best interest to be kind. It's in their best interest to be cruel. Now, I can't compete with that. You see, I could have competed with it if the churches were still alive and hadn't committed crimes against, through sexual abuse of children and all that. I could have. My stuff sounds far better on the steps of a church than it does well, not a place like this, but outside my shop front in Albert Park. You see, it makes more sense because it's based on spirituality. We're talking, I'm sorry, I'm talking to.
No.
I've got no wife, child, lover or manager. So I've got nobody to talk to, you see what I mean?
But not at all, but it's interesting, if you look out there at this bunch.
Yeah, I can see them.
Yeah.
That lot over there,
they're
the right age. 20-somethings, look at them.
Yeah.
All over there.
But, Father Bob, this bunch here
Yes.
have contact with literally hundreds of thousands of young people. And I think when those young people come to us in universities, they really want to make a difference. They really want to change the world. There's an innate goodness about them, and I think we all see it all the time.
Yes.
What advice would you give to us working with those young people?
Well, you'll have to stay at the barricades for a start. You see? Don't leave the barricades, for God's sake.
What does that mean?
Well, we learnt that in Eureka, down in Victoria, in 1800, what was it? 15, I think it was it? 54. So you've got to stay at the barricades. You've got a cause, you believe it to be right, the redcoats are coming, the squatters have got charge of the land, all you want is a tiny piece to prospect for gold, isn't it? That's all you want, this big. And you know you're right. And therefore you go to the barricades, not with the intent of destroying the Her Majesty the Queen or the Empire, but just drawing a line in the sand, beyond this we shall not move, because we the people. Now, if you're in the mood for it, you see, I can only invite you. Who the hell am I? Invite you, you see, to stay at the barricades, because you've got a terrible lot of things on your plate. You know, you've got well-being, you've got so many things that people are tossing up to you as being. I was talking to a bloke yesterday, he said, oh, Adam, I came from a marvellous lecture by a man who's brilliant at making money. So I said, oh, what did he say? He said, there are only two ways of making money, said the man. What? First is inheritance. See, well, we know all about that because that's the story of Australia, isn't it? Who owns all the bloody land from Brisbane to here? I'm looking out the window today saying, there's nobody there. I can't see any movement from Brisbane to here on the ground. Whose is that? So, you've got the, what am I saying? You've got barricades.
Inherited.
Two, what are the two things? Inherit it or marry into it. Now I thought that's not nice, but the bloke came from the lecture and he was wrapped in it because I presume the bloke, a TED talk or something, would have been trying to get across cheaply a solution to everybody wants to make money. You see, how can I do it? And the man will say, well, that and that is the easiest way. If you can't do that, comrade, well, you better start working hard, because it's the only alternative. And we're not that keen in the West to work hard, you see, which is why we should let all the asylum seekers in tonight, because they'll show us how to work hard. See what I mean? Because they've got a reason. You see, whereas our lot, unfortunately, haven't got a reason strong enough. There's somebody, I remember seeing a thing once written or something, you don't need to get answers to everything as long as you've got an explanation. See? The explanation will fit all. That's what you want in life.
But how does that fit in with our experience of students that come into the university and they really want to make a difference? I mean, we have programs going on in India. We can send our students can get their...
You've got a program going on in the corner of Swanson...
of Melbourne.
In my place.
In your place,
yeah.
And working there with homeless people, but we see our students will just go out of their way. You would be hard pushed to walk around our campus without being sold a biscuit or something.
Yes.
People raising money so that they can help our partner institutions,
yes.
so I'm Black and Indian.
Yes.
So they really want to work to make a difference.
Yes.
Before they get tied down with mortgages and money and making money.
Yes.
How do we mobilise that force?
Well, it's bad news is that this stuff is not taught. It's caught. See what I mean? Bad luck, comrades. So you can teach until you're black in the face and give everybody degrees. If you yourself aren't living that art or science, young people can see through you. See, that's the bad news. We used to say in the old days when religion was still in favour, and the saying then was, religion is not taught, it's caught. Because you can't get religion by going to church. You can only get religion like I got my religion from my mother. She had no bloody reason in the universe for trusting God. Because her old man was a drunk and used to beat her up. But I dare not argue with my mother over the existence of God. Dare it. Because it would be impertinent. See? Because she'd been to the promised land and she'd been to the top of the mountain and seen the promised land. You can't argue with people who've been to the... I went to the top of the mountain and saw the promised land in the 50s in South Melbourne and Port Melbourne. And then the chief honcho in Melbourne said, you've got to go away. I said, I've just been to the top of the mountain and seen the promised land. See? We should be putting the outsiders as the insiders, Your Grace. See? He said, but the insiders are complaining. But I said, well, get the founder of the firm. Look up the textbook. He says you've got to put the outsiders first. In fact, he said he is the outsider. Well, when they said, don't let the Romans crucify, he said, no. He said, the only way to get the message across to this mob There's DIY and BYO. Do it yourself and bring your own. So if you reckon the cause is that important, you've got to put yourself in. See, women know this. You see, that's what annoys. I mean, who am I? Sister Roberta. Who am I? But I know that the women know, whatever the word is by whatever it is, that they have to put themselves in. See? The blokes don't know that, see? It may not be in our natures, I don't know. But that's why you have partners, so that one partner can help the other to walk the walk as well as talk the bloody talk. Isn't it? That's what partners are for. Of whatever gender. LGBTYQ. Whatever. Is that right? LBGTY. No, the Q's all right, isn't it?
What's the Q for?
Questioning. Same as in religion, I've decided to come up with, what have I got? BHJC IQ. Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Islamic. Questioning. Okay? All the good guys, like that bloke who drove the Roman Catholics mad. What's his name? He's gone to headquarters. Dickie Dawkins. Dickie Dawkins. Now listen, is this boring? Is this all right?
Well, let's talk about what we've talked about a little bit over time.
Yeah.
That we're, we want to go out and do good things.
Yes.
You've gone out and done good things.
Yeah, but it's easy for me. I've got no wife, child or lover.
But
See what I mean? There's no collateral damage with me.
play your cards right. But we were talking about the difficulties because we have these ideals. We're going to go out and do good things.
Yes.
And we've seen that on our campuses that we've kind of opened our doors and we've brought troubled youths onto our campus.
Yes.
And it's perhaps not the experience we expected. We've had fights breaking out. We've had people throwing flower pots from the top of buildings.
Yes.
And it wasn't what we expected.
We had a bloke hung himself in the front garden.
So how,
We misinterpreted that. But so the insider said, wasn't that terrible? He hung himself just outside the church. And I was looking for answers from the street. And they said, no. Stephen didn't hang himself out of spite. Stephen hung himself from a place where he felt at home. A lot of people commit suicide at home.
well, I'm going to get you back on track.
They're worn out.
How, give us some practical advice, because we've got kids that want to do good, but they actually want to go and, yes, he's going. I think it was what you were saying.
You all right? Not offensive?
No. She looks as offended.
Oh.
I just sat down now. So we've got, kids that normally, most of our kids come from good backgrounds, good families, and here they are meeting and working with a group of people that are completely alien to them.
Yes.
How do we prepare?
You need to have a, a course before they go anywhere near anybody from outside. What do you call that? Orientation, is it?
Cultural awareness?
Yeah, but you call it cultural competence.
Yeah.
Because you'll have to learn the language of the street, you'll have to learn the language of people who have had their hearts ripped out and who can speak only in grunts and with four-letter words. And the risk is that we'll misinterpret it. In your own house you do this. I haven't got this happening. Oh, I did, but when I had a house, I did. We had a house full of lunatics. Lovely lunatics, you know what I mean? Mystics, not misfits. But they were cursing and swearing and, they might smash things and all the rest of it. But I mean, it was home to them. And I remember myself falling into the trap of giving them back what they gave us. So I'm saying, fuck this, you fuck that. You see, and one bloke stopped dead in his tracks and said, hey, listen, Father Bob, you shouldn't talk like that. I said, why? You giving out your fucking mate? He said, no, but you should know better. See what I mean? Isn't it? But you see, the immaturity in us will be triggered by working with people who appear to be at odds with society. I remember when we started on the streets in St Kilda in the 1980s with street kids, aged, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. We wouldn't let any do-gooder come down the street and work immediately with street kids. We said you can come down and you can walk in the street, you can stay away from the street kids because they need the opportunity to suss you out. You think you're going down to suss them out. See? You are there for them. They're not there for you. And because we found that the street sickness, the collapse disorder, could permeate the pores of your soul. So by being there, you picked it like our soldiers, sailors and airpersons do. We send them away to war, and when they come home and have permanent, what do you call it, a post-trauma stress disorder, we go, oh, what happened? You just send them into a place where people are shot dead, ripped to pieces, blown up. What do you think you've sent robots? You send flesh and blood in to see flesh and blood pulled to pieces. That's what's going to happen. When you go on the street, it's the same. Same with emergency services. What they see is, now you've got to train, this is what we're saying. What's the word? Ruthlessly rational. Means that you've got to realise, you've got to do a lot of research on the environment in which your students are in fact living and working and having their being. Because how many of your students present as being whole and entire, where they themselves have got a broken heart? I remember at Ivanhoe Grammar once, they used to do things for us and raise money for street kids. The principal of the school was there. Here's a row of boys, 6'6", tough, captain of boats, captain of this, captain of that, captain of that. And the headmaster said, I said, listen, why don't we talk more about what's going on in the lives of the kids in your school rather than what they can do for street people? Because there'll be more loneliness in that going in the affluent, in the aspirational class is lonelier than people in public housing. People in public housing deserve each a diploma of cultural competence. Amazing heroic performances. The occasional stabbing, the occasional whatever, blah, blah, blah. But overall, their performance is stunning of how to be resilient and survive with nothing. And he said, well, that's strange you're saying that because see the captain of the school over there? He said, yeah. He said he goes home every night to an empty house. See? His mother's gone, his father's out looking for a lover. And that was the main complaint of kids on the street in the 80s. What would you really like? You know, silly Bob saying, what would you really like if you could have it? I want to go home. Why can't you go home? Because I had to put it in a little phrase for myself. My mother can't face life just as a mother. She needs to be a lover. Now, is that out of the mouths of babes? Asking the impossible of a woman to spend her life heroically just as a mother. Where what comes naturally is you want to have a lover, isn't it? Somebody who loves you. Somebody whom you can love. Is what the world needs now. This is terrible, isn't it? Bloody awful.
It's a really interesting point because I'm saying give us advice what we can do with these students, how can we go and work with the poor. And there were two incredible Aboriginal women came to see me just this week and they were telling me, you know, about kids as young as 10 living in derelict houses in Rockhampton, So, you know, we have street kids here in Rockhampton. So we're kind of looking at that, but also I was talking to our head of counselling today, and she was telling me, on average, our counselling service are dealing with 3 threatened suicides a week from our student body. So maybe we need to not just look outside, but look inside.
See, if you look at a lot of ours, as they got older, I suppose, teenage, they survived. Most of our 40 who died in the 80s, none of them committed suicide. It's strange, isn't it? But the aspirational class kids would commit suicide. See, ours wouldn't. Ours were killed in what do you call it, in the course of combat. It was either a bad dose of this, a bad dose of that, but see, it can boil down simply to, I mean, it's all so bloody simple, it drives me insane. Will somebody please call me by my name? Because they're never referred to by their name. The bloke who was stabbed in, what do you call that, Enterprise Park, was on Australian Story last week. So they've all got nicknames. He was called Mouse. His name was Wayne. Will somebody please call me by my name? Otherwise, how can the person grow up knowing who he, she is? Isn't it? The one thing in the universe that you want to keep is your name. See, I sometimes think, because I'm old, if I'm dead, not God forbid, not here tonight, are we covered?
Yeah. We covered.
Thank you. So,
we've got the whole dug out.
I'm thinking, if I go through the, what do you call it, the wardrobe, Narnia, into the next episode, the one voice you would like to hear would be your mother. And the one name you would like to hear would be Bobby. That's strange. Because that's what she called me. Everybody else calls you something else. But the name that your mother or your lover or whoever, you want to hear that name repeated. And it's so, that's what texting, the problem with texting is, who the bloody hell is it? I get to the stage, I've got to send back a thing saying, who are you? I haven't got a list of damn addresses. I'm looking up who this one is. See? Next I'm going to have a couple comes in and ask for a text marriage. You see? They don't want to be there. They want to be there for 20 minutes now. You see? Because it's too much for them. And when they say, Auntie wants to read a verse from Dr. Seuss, up staggers Auntie. Now if Auntie is 40, she can read and declaim. If Auntie's only 20, she can't. She's not used to speaking to human beings live. You see what I mean? So that's sad when you take those little body language things out. So, will somebody please call me by my name? Why, darling? Because everybody calls me nobody. What do you mean? I've been told 1,000 times, listen, mate, you're just nobody. Isn't it? Now, what you've got to do is you've got to get an algorithm for this to apply it to the regional universities network. So I can't give it here. See? Because I'm not in that milieu. That's a special milieu with a special language and a special, you know what I mean?
We're all in the milieu.
That's tribal. See what I mean? That's what you've done, which is why I'm here tonight and answer to your first question, is because you are who you are. See, I had the feeling that in fact your lot is onto something. See? That there's an African saying, I am because you are. Bit deep in it for the Aussies. I am, the Aboriginal people would agree with it. I am because you are. If there's no you, there's no me. Huh? So students may well say that when they're in class or when they're in discussion, whatever.
Well, that's the first question dealt with.
I apologise.
I was just wondering, just to wind up, would you mind if anyone had any comments or questions?
No, away they go. But don't forget, I'm saying that my street people in my Port Melbourne, South Melbourne, and St Kilda, they are highly intelligent people. This is what worries me. They don't sound highly intelligent, but they are highly intelligent people. And they've been, what's the word?
Oh, look,
they have no sense of, what's the word they use in the trade now, of entitlement. You see what I mean? In other words, I think the unis have to take to the streets. We have to take to the street. The universities will have to take to the streets. Now, how are you going to do that, I don't know. But I would have thought that universities started on the streets. Weren't they? And schools started in hedgerows. See? Now, it's a terrible cultural ask, you see, to take to the streets, but you could have a select unit.
Well, the way government funding's going, we might be getting back to
You'd be on the Bunny Street anyway.
Let's take we've probably got time for just two, perhaps.
Have we used all right down there? There's pudding afterwards.
Any comments or questions?
Any comments, questions?
The comrades over there, see?
Yeah.
The 20-somethings. By the way, the problem age I heard the other day at Broadmeadows Way, where I'm the patron to a beautiful community centre called Banksia Gardens. It's beautiful. They are now starting a special school for 8-year-olds. Because the 8-year-olds in the public housing are showing signs now of community collapse disorder. Isn't that awful? 8.
Eight.
Eight.
What if we have 2 questions? 2 or 3 questions?
Yeah, away you go. I'm all right.
Well, the first one right here, thank you.
These are waiting for their pudding.
Yeah.
Perhaps I was going to say, Father Bob, what's your favourite word?
Word.
Word.
W-O-R-D. Me, we.
Is that me, we?
Me, we.
That's 2.
No, it's one word.
Oh.
Me, we. Say it really quickly.
Well, Muhammad Ali was asked that by university students at Harvard. Give us a poem, they said. He said, me, we. The shortest poem ever written. That suits me.
Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Am I shouting? I am shouting, aren't I?
Chip, this is a question from America.
Oh, God bless America, comrade.
I'm also an Australian Army veteran. I just grew up in America.
Thank you.
My question is, and what I'm seeing, and I don't know if you're observing it as well, is why is Australia, and I've been here now 29 years, going more and more the American way, when we have so many more models of economic systems in Scandinavia, for example, which are so much happier,
Beautiful.
so much better, and we keep having a race on both sides of politics to go to where I come from, the Rust Belt.
I don't know. Even Breivik, Breivik complained about the conditions in his cell. The bloke who shot all those students. Yeah. And where is that? Is that Norway? Where's that?
This is Norway.
Yeah, Norway said upheld his appeal. See, they believe in restorative justice. We don't. We believe in retributive justice. We will punish everybody because we were punished as convicts. We haven't got over the convict experience. It's in the DNA. We inherit it. You see what I mean? The squatters, on the other hand, have inherited the entitlement DNA. You can't argue with it because it's a thing. It's a science. You see what I mean? Now, that's when you need the wise ones, whoever they're going to be in Australia. Any Asimov's fans down there? Asimov Foundation and Empire, thank you. Because these people are saying philosophers, mathematicians, Psychologists will be needed to sort out this mess. Mathematicians to get the algorithm. Psychologists to remind us of what has gone to make us who we are as a species. And what's the other one? Psychologists.
Philosophers.
And philosophers. See, where are the thinkers these days in Australia? We used to have poets. We used to have, what's his name, the man from Snowy River? Banjo Patterson. And when the other man, the drunken man, what was his name? Henry Lawson. And we had the drunken man who wrote Eternity. See? See, it's that lot that have to come. I don't know where they're going to come from. See, they've been on the top of the mountain and seen the promised land, and for some reason or another they're not coming out. Because you see, if the art at present is politics, and politics is the art of if you can't convince them, confuse them. See what I mean? We need...
Father Bob,
yeah.
we're going to move on from the bar.
Pudding?
No, not yet. We have another question.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for taking up so much of your time.
Rob, thank you for your honest words. I'm sure all of us tonight are moved by your frank, honest opinions. I'm Veronica, I'm from the Faculty of Nursing, and something that overwhelmed me during this conference was my attendance to a session where people talked about homes first. It's a model of care where we've gone right down the basics of Maslow's hierarchy. We're doing shelter. In America, these models are going really, really great guns in providing shelter first and then they're bringing in other services. Well, I met a young chap yesterday who was into smart cities. I think about Margaret Strubo and her work, soup kitchens. I want to see the minds and the intelligence of smart cities come together with homes first and see what we can make for the entity of our homeless youth, for those at risk, for those who are considering suicide, and ask ourselves what kind of smart cities we want in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you also got a problem. Homelessness is one thing. I've come up with another thing, which is placelessness. You can be homeless, because we had a show yesterday down in St Kilda in a park. Every year they have the memorial service for those who've died on the streets in the last 12 months. Beautiful service, beautiful. So smoke from the Aboriginal elders, music from the bloke who was on the street, but he's now... testimonies from people who were and they're now, you know what I mean? And that's a real church service. And the resilience is absolutely stunning. Stunning. And the wider community is being deprived of that, you see, because for some reason or another, the social behaviour regulators don't want the whole of Australia to discover that our best natural resource is our own young people. Even at their worst. They're only being prophetic. See? Because when you're a teenager, you can see through things. They tell you, don't they? They didn't tell you when they were 10, 11. Now they're telling you because they're 14, 15, 16. See? But you need backup, darling. You can't do any of this on your own. That's why it's either all the university or no. That's why I had hoped that the Roman Church would have backed us up. You see, but she couldn't have, poor darling, because she was more concerned with the 10% of people who are in church. Because they forgot, the founder of the firm said, forget about those who are in church. See, what do you do when you've lost one and you've got 99 safe? The founder of the firm said. And the answer was, leave the 99 who was safe and go after the one who was lost. See, which is not necessarily rational. So I'm saying now the 99 are lost and there is one safe. See? And the Aussies must learn that.
Thank you, Father Bob.
Thank you, comrade.
Thank you. And there are lots and lots of messages in there, and I think each and every one of us will have selected something, or we would have honed in on something that Father Bob has shared with us, and that Scott has drawn out in the on-couch conversation. So thank you.
I got where I came here for, so I'm very happy. Thank you.
A